Hello and welcome to Take the Black, your one and only fantasy and sci-fi podcast that dives deep into the world of Westeros, A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon, and Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, and of course, anything else that happens to be hopping in the genres at the moment. I am one of your hosts, Daniel Roman, the editor of winteriscoming.net, and I'm excited, as always, to be joined by my co-host, Marq Nettles. How you doing, Mark?
I'm doing good. I'm ready to talk about this episode only because there were a lot of dragon kisses in this episode, like an absurd amount. I mean, we had Vermithor and Silverwing, then we had some Bela and Alan, then we had what's her name? Aemon and Alice. A lot of dragons, on a romantic vibe for episode 6 or season 3.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely, there was a lot of affection, a lot of laughs this episode. This one made me cackle out loud like twice, which like hasn't happened once this season. So, kudos this episode. I think out of those three kisses, my favorite is Vermithor and Silverwing. Like, give those two some quality time. They deserve it.
I know. Now they're just heading right off. It's like they need to sit down. They haven't seen each other in a minute. They're seeing each other 10 minutes in passing. Like they need some time to themselves.
Right. You never know that they've been, companions for decades. But yeah, there was a lot. Obviously, as we do every week, we have a lot to talk about for this one. And this was a fairly packed episode. One major death, one what the hell happened to that other major character? Presumably he's not dead, but we don't know for sure, but I think we can safely say he's not. And a whole bunch of other stuff. A stinky assassination attempt. All sorts of fun things. More stuff in King's Landing. So yeah, I mean, shall we just dive right into House of the Dragon season 3, episode 6?
Yes, dragon kisses and assassination plots. Let's go right in.
Okay, let's do it. So before we get into the dragon kisses, which I absolutely want your opinion about, and before we get into the episode, I need to shout out right now for people on the audio side. You can't see this. Go to YouTube and watch. Mark, what's that shirt you're wearing? It's looking awful green in your room there, Mark.
There's a little green around here. I got one of the soccer jerseys for House of the Dragon season 3, and you got to choose between Team Black, Team Green. I picked my allegiance for now. I'm I'm an open-minded. I'm willing to change at any moment, but right now, I'm liking what they're doing over there on the green side.
Yeah, it's a good time for Team Green. I mean, not to say that everyone is having a great time on Team Green, but I think in terms of who's the most interesting, I've never rooted for Team Green as much as I feel like I have these past few episodes. They've been good ones for Team Green. So yeah.
It's just so much plotting going on in the background. So many characters I like, so many characters I dislike on Team Green, of course, but I'm interested in what they're doing. I think that's the good thing they have going for them.
Totally. I could not agree with that more. So speaking of our very first Team Green person, things are really not going well for her, and that is Criston Cole. Just as the episode started with Criston Cole, we probably should too. The first 6 minutes of this episode, they hit on an event from the book that is known as the Butcher's Ball, which is where Sir Criston Cole finally meets his end, and he's trapped by an army in the Riverlands. He's ready for a fight. In this case, they actually get ambushed, and then the army comes out when they think they want to survive the ambush, and it's clear they have no chance. And then Criston's getting all ready to fight. He offers to duel, and then Black Alley just snipes him with some arrows, and down goes Criston. So Mark, like first question, this is probably one of the biggest deaths in the entire show. Like, Criston has been on since the series premiere of this show. He's really, him and Otto and Rhaenys are really the only characters who've died who were on for that sort of length of time. Do you think the show pulled off a good death for Criston Cole?
They pulled off a good death for what it was supposed to be, and that was an uneventful death. Death. And I liked how much they hyped it up in the previous episode about how much he wanted to die with the singers. remembering the glory he had in his last fight, how he was going to go out a champion and whatnot. And just a couple of arrows to the gut. He had a good fight before that. I was happy we got to see him use his famous mace. That is his weapon of choice. So I was like, okay, a mace. Is it deadly? Yeah. Yeah. A lot of people on the from the Riverlanders don't got a face anymore because of it. But at the end of the day, he died with some arrows, and that's the end of his story. There will be no crazy song saying.
Yeah, I mean, this was, this is the death that was always waiting for Kristen. He wants the big glorious charge. He doesn't get it. That is how he goes down in the book. They did cut a line that I really missed, which is essentially he gets told in the book, we won't have people singing songs of you, because he offers to duel them just like in Fire and Blood, except here there's two people. He says, I'll duel you two against one, even though one of them's like a kid. Like, there's definitely like elements of this scene that they transposed from the book that like didn't quite land as well. Like, there are a few line by line things where I'm like, that's a little silly. Like him also being like, lots of your men will die if we fight, Kristen says to them. And it's like, Kristen, you got like 15 dudes. Like, I don't know if you saw the size of the army you're facing, but like very few of them are going to die. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that was definitely a stylistic choice. I know, like the previous
Totally.
episode when they got the Heron Hall, they said they had maybe a few thousand. I'm like, okay, great. And I know they would have lost people along the way on this march to pick apart at their army, but to end up with 15, I'm like, whoa, guys, let's maybe we could have had 100 guys on set for that day.
Totally. Yeah, I do feel like it was maybe a production thing that like they just didn't have that many extras for Kristen's men for whatever reason. Cause yeah, it really does feel like he's got nobody left. Like, there's zero threat these guys pose. He's arguing for their lives. Like, if you kill me, like, let my men go. And they're just riding the room. It's just like, nah, we're not gonna do that. But it is like very few people. But yeah, I mean, I liked what they did with it. They did it fairly faithfully, I think. I like that they gave him, the one last hurrah. They had the ambush with the corpses, which I liked quite a lot. And yeah, like you said, the Morning Star coming out was a nice throwback, because I think the very first episode he used that with Daemon in their fight in the tourney. So it was a good callback to one of the very first weapons we ever saw Kristen use in this series. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. I definitely, let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
The thing I keep wondering about Kristen Cole's death is, would it have been more effective as the end to episode 5? Because here it happens, and then like we're just on to the rest of the episode. Like, we've got 50 more minutes after Kristen goes down. What do you think?
I think that was them taking it from the book of, it's not supposed to be memorable. It's supposed to, it happened at the end of the episode, would have been an epic feat. Like, oh man, and he takes him out. And that's something like that would have stuck with us a little bit more for it to happen at the beginning of this episode than for us to have the entire episode of other things happening. It's almost like it's forgotten the thing he didn't want us to do.
Wow, that's a really interesting meta take on this. Like, it's not even just in world they're making it not memorable, not glorious, but for us, the viewers, they're purposely undercutting it. I didn't really thought about it that way, but like, it kind of makes sense. Like, I assumed obviously they were trying to play with expectations in terms of, will Kristen get the big epic way to go out? They end on the cliffhanger, and then no, like, he dies right away. Like, that in itself is a good subversion of what people might expect. But that idea of, we're going to bury it under 50 more minutes of episode, to the point where you, the viewer, almost forget that it even happened and is not very notable. That's interesting, because like thinking of like reading about Kristen Cole's death in Fire and Blood, like, it's still a memorable moment, even though the whole point is that it won't be memorable to people of Westeros. Man, if that's intentional, that's commitment from the House of the Dragon writers to do it that way.
We'll say it is. They'll take our word for it. Like, yeah, that's what we're going for.
Totally what we meant by that. The other thing I wanted to ask you about this scene, we haven't had a whole lot of time with a lot of the very cool, interesting secondary characters in the Riverlands. So like Roddy the Ruin, Oscar Tully, Black Alley. I don't even think they've named Black Alley, Alison Blackwood. Like I don't think her name has been mentioned once in the show.
I don't think
Um,
so.
do you so here we get kind of the culmination of seeing them. Presumably they're going to show up later at Tumbleton. Um, how are you feel? Do you wish we had more time with them before this? Do you feel like this we've had a good amount of time? Where are you at with those characters?
I do wish we would have been able to see their encampment a little bit more. We saw it with Daemon briefly when they were singing about the fish feed battle, but
Yeah,
it's almost like we're missing something. We know they're on a collision course for Tumbleton right now, but it's like I want to be more involved with their story for whatever battle is to come. Like that's
yeah.
their whole journey is to get there. But it's like, okay, we're gonna get there and I guess be reintroduced to what you guys are gonna do overall. But
Yeah. Yeah, I feel the same. Every time Tommy Flanagan is on scene or on screen as Roddy the Ruin, like I find myself paying more attention. Like he's just he looks interesting. Tommy Flanagan's an amazing actor. Like I want to know more. But like they haven't even really explained like I feel like such a dork when people bring up like the Winter Wolves and like if you've read the book, you know why they're all old men and it's the most badass thing in the world. And I feel like they haven't really conveyed that. Like it's kind of like they're a bunch of old people. We don't really know why. This idea that like they went south. They treat it as a one-way trip because it alleviates the burden on their families for the winter anyway. So it's like their
yeah,
chance to die gloriously and ease the lot of their loved ones. And like yeah, I wish that we had more time too. And I feel like it's almost a casualty, like a like collateral damage of one of House of the Dragons really big choices that it made early on and stuck to that I still feel like the jury's out on, which is Ryan Condal, the showrunner, has said a few times that like they made the choice to stick the perspective for this story is House Targaryen. So it's the
mhm,
family, it's their extended family, people like Kristen Cole who get swept up in their orbit. But like we're really not ever going to spend time with people who aren't related to the Targaryens too much in one way or another. And I feel like the Riverlands army is kind of one of those. They have a lot of stuff in the book where they're just like off fighting.
yeah.
Daemon's not with them. They're doing their thing. But the show, because we're not really straying too far from the Targaryens and their extended family, we just don't really see too much of that. So I hope we get more as they reach Tumbleton, and that battle happens, which they'll be involved in.
Yeah, I agree with you. Hopefully, they figure out a way to, and maybe that's the missing piece. Once they get closer to Tumbleton, then they can emphasize those characters more because they'll be in relation to a whole bunch of a Targaryen that's there and possibly some other dragons as well.
Yeah, totally. Totally. Fingers crossed. So this episode after the Butcher's Ball, which is the thing, I feel like a lot of viewers expected stuff was going to go down for Chris in this episode. What do you want to talk about next? Because there's a lot of stuff, and we could go in the order that's on the outline. We can hop around. We're kind of all over the map here, just like episode 5.
Yeah, and we can, you know what, we can go order because I don't think there is a good way. There's so many things happening at different locations. There's not.
Yeah.
It's like which one do you want to go to?
Yeah, totally. So let's talk about Gwaine
Mm,
Hightower and Tumbleton a little bit. So this episode, so we saw Gwaine left Kristen, so he's not at the butcher's ball. Yay
mm,
for Gwaine. Gwaine just like, in the book, he's already dead. He dies when Rhaenyra takes King's Landing. And I feel like Gwaine is just then he was with Kristen at the butcher's ball and he left. And Gwaine is like the single luckiest character for avoiding getting killed on this show out of
every time.
anybody. He just keeps him and Orwile. They just keep slipping by people trying to kill them. So Gwaine goes to Tumbleton. He reunites with Ormond, his cousin, and Darren, Ormond's ward. Um, and there's like there's a really condescending relationship between Ormond and Gwaine, but then a really sweet one between Darren and Gwaine. And we kind of get a look at Darren's inner workings maybe more than we ever have in the show so far. I know he's only been in like half the season, but when the shield comes down, he's talking to Gwaine in private, and he's like, "You left me with Ormond. You knew what he was in terms of this sort of psychological abuse." Um, really interesting stuff. So, what were your thoughts about the high towers of it all?
Uh, I thought that was great to for us, the audience, to understand. Like, oh, okay, Daemon is putting a little bit of a front on, putting on that trappings of power
Totally.
to win around his what cousin. I had to make a chart for somebody earlier for his cousin, uncle, Orman,
Yeah.
and it's just good to see how he is able to open up. He did have someone over there in Old Town that he could see as someone who really does care about him, does care
Yeah.
about him currently now. So I think it was good to see that relationship and to understand the relationship between Gwaine and Orman. Of Orman is a dick. I think we all agree on that. Or
Yeah.
100% a dick. Making those crude jokes because I'm assuming Gwaine's supposed to be gay in the television show, and just making inappropriate joke after inappropriate joke about it. It's like, hey, we're trying to fight a war. Like, what are you even saying right now?
Yeah. Yeah, I think, you know, it's it contextualizes Ormond a little bit because most of the people we've seen him be a dick to are like people in Tumbleton. He is, they swore to the blacks and now he's strong arming them, his soldiers who break the rules. Darren, who he's trying to like groom in this very specific way to be a ruler, but also a puppet ruler for Ormond to do what Ormond wants to do. It's different. It hit different for me seeing him be callous in this way to Gwaine, his cousin, who is like probably the closest thing to an equal we've seen Ormond with on screen so far. Gwaine is not subservient. Like, even though Ormond is the Lord of House Hightower, Gwaine technically serves him. Gwaine is also a knight. Like, they're more equal than the average person that Ormond talks to. And he's still talking down to him and being awful. And like, I think it's this episode. He has he makes a comment about Otto too, where they're talking about graspers and climbers, people who weren't born to position but try to climb for it, and how they're untrustworthy. And someone says something about Otto, and Ormond's like, "Oh, where do we even start?" So it's just clear he doesn't think very well of that side of the family, unfortunately.
Which is a crazy thing for a man that was able to rise to hand of the king on two separate occasions, and for you
Three,
to have
three
three,
kings.
three
He
games.
was Jaehaerys's hand too.
100%. Oh my goodness! And to think so little of him, but to put Corliss on a
Yeah,
different stage, like,
he
hey,
likes
Corliss,
Corliss. Corliss is okay.
Corliss is a good. That's my guy.
Yeah. The rare good decision Rhaenyra. I chuckled when he's like, the rare good decision Rhaenyra made, picking Corliss as her hand.
Yeah, exactly. But it does make you think because I think Orman's kind of assuming, of course, he would be the hand to Daeron if he does
Yeah,
this in the Iron Throne. But I'm looking at, I mean, he has a better relationship with Gwaine. I think he can do everything that Orman's doing, but in a nicer way. Why do you want someone who you feel like may backstab you at any point of sitting next to you?
absolutely. Yeah, yeah, totally. I mean, that's what was so interesting about the Darren and Gwaine conversation, because up until this point, we really haven't known, like, we've seen that Darren's walking on eggshells, but we haven't had a conversation where he could really like tell us, the audience, how he views Ormond privately. And this Gwaine conversation let us see that he's just so much more aware than maybe we expected. Like, he knows that Ormond is a bad influence. Ormond's got his issues. Like, he doesn't want to be there with him, like, really does not. Um, and Ormond is basically like putting Darren on the chopping block. As we see in this episode, Rhaenyra sent some assassins to Tumbleton, dressed in the garb of House Baratheon, which that whole sequence is kind of humorous. The Baratheons come to King's Landing to basically tell Rhaenyra she summoned them there, and Boros Baratheon sends someone who's like, "Oh, he marched the other way to fight this like petty like bandit threat in the mountains, by Dorne, like the Dornish threat." And Rhaenyra is like, "You thought that was a bigger threat than me getting mad at you?" Like, um, really funny. And then of course she takes their outfits, she puts them on her own soldiers and sends them down. Um, what do you think about this whole House Baratheon stinky assassin
The
thing?
stink behind killers.
Yeah.
I mean, and we're it's funny now only because it didn't work, but it only
Yes.
didn't work because Gwaine was there. Gwaine recognized someone, well, recognized who that person was not. Like, you're
Yep.
not Arion Baratheon. That's not you. I know how he's supposed to look, and that's where
Yep.
having those distinctive looks does come in handy. It's like, no, I know
Yep.
how you're supposed to look. This is not going to work. And it wasn't hilarious seeing Ormond throw up at the stench of the bowels being evacuated because people were dying, blood everywhere, and he couldn't hold his water. I think
Yep.
that was the biggest tell of his character. Hey, I know you have an aversion to bad smells, but at all this, are you supposed to be a battle commander? What happens when the battle actually reaches you? One person was able to step up from House Hightower. The other one, I don't know what he
Yep.
was doing.
Yep, totally. It definitely it tells us a lot about Ormond's limits, you know,
Mhm.
like I have kind of snickered about the whole like he's sensitive to smells just because it feels like a video game boss weakness that Rhaenyra knows the weakness, so she'll use it in some way. Allison thought to tell her there's a one very crucial piece of information, which is, you know, use the stinkiest weapon you have against Ormond and it'll have some adverse effect. So the plot itself was kind of fun to me. Like it's a little funny, but like you said, it's only funny because it didn't work.
Yeah.
And this is what I mean about Ormond putting Darren on the chopping block. He's doing all this stuff in King Darren's name. And Darren, like, he doesn't really want to be king, you know, like he just wants to hang out with his dragon Tessarion, who's locked up in a sept of all places. But you know, these assassins, they're not even just there for Ormond, they're there for Darren. So yeah, thankfully Gwaine catches on. I loved the quiet looks, like John Roxton, Bull John Roxton's in there too, who's
Yeah.
the like Ormond's second in command with the great sword for people listening who may not know John Roxton, because another character, I don't even think they've said his name. But he clocks that Gwaine is noticing something is off. I like that they didn't say anything about it. You just see Gwaine notice, you see John Roxton notice Gwaine noticing, and then they save, you know, everybody. But yeah, Ormond barfing was one of the things I laughed out loud at, just because, you know, he's he tries to be so controlled and so superior, and you know, some stinky soldiers and a couple of deaths, and he can't even control himself enough not to be barfing into his own food dish. So
Exactly.
yeah, we saw a different side of Ormond.
And real quick, I do like what you brought up about John Roxton just noticing that
Yeah.
Gwaine is seeing something. What is he seeing? And there's those small attention to details that you need as a leader. And I'm not sure if Ormond has that. Big scheme person, blow things up, change the battlefield. That's Ormond can do that. But hey, the
Yep.
small attention to details, like
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of what that scene is. Like they walked in, they smell bad. So again, it like throws Ormond off. Like he can't cope with that enough to even, you know, he's been waiting for a delegation from House Baratheon. We got that an episode or two back, I think 4,
mm.
where he mentions he wanted the Baratheons to come help him and they didn't. So Boros Baratheon has been presumably summoned by the Greens and the Blacks, and he's just like, nope, I'll go wait to see who looks like they're gonna win. Even though technically he should be supporting the Greens because one of his daughters is betrothed to Aemond. Um, but yeah, the Ormond stuff, definitely nice to see, you know, the cracks showing there a little bit. We're on episode 6. We've got 2 more this season. We needed something like this so that Ormond doesn't just feel unassailable. It drags him down into the muck a little bit, and then he
Mm.
immediately is like, I need to get back at Rhaenyra. So he sends bold John Roxton, that guy whose name they will at some point perhaps say, he sends Rhaenyra a bloody message because whoever wrote this was watching Dexter that week. And then the message is it's something like kick this dog and he'll bite your hand, I think. It was something like that. And
Oh.
yeah, so he sends Bold John Roxton out after Corlys Velaryon, who we saw earlier in the episode, was fighting Triarchy pirates in the region. I don't know how fast John Roxton got there. Seems like pretty quick to me, but we're not too concerned with travel times this season in this show. So yeah, that's the other big twist here at the end. And we could have saved it, but we're already talking about it. So
We're already in it.
we're already in it. We might as well talk about it. So Corlys, obviously none of this happens with Corlys in the book. He does not leave King's Landing like this in the book because of this thing at odds with Rhaenyra. She just legitimized his bastards, and that was that. Do you think he is dead or captured?
I think he's captured just because Ormond holds him in such high esteem. Why would he want to kill Corlys? If there may be a chance that he feels like he can flip Corlys to his side. Like if I can get House Velaryon fighting for me, fighting for the Greens, then maybe this can turn the whole tide of this war.
Yeah. That's a good point. I didn't really think about that he might try to flip Corlys. And, Corlys has got some reasons to resent Rhaenyra right now. He's also very loyal. Corlys is like one of the most steadfast characters in the story who's just, he's got his code. He's pretty much sticking to it. Yeah. Pretty much the entire show.
Yeah, and that's what we love about Corlys. Like, hey, I want what's best for my family at the end of the day. But I don't think he would. Do I think he would go against Team Black? No. But does Ormond think he can maybe do something, maybe get something from Corlys? I think he does, because he doesn't know the man. He just knows of the man. The legend. It's like, if I can figure out a way to get this legend to my side, why would you? Oh, that's bad plan. Unless you do mean to execute Corlys at the end of the day.
Yeah, and it could be that he wants to try to flip Corlys or get information from him and then would execute him. I'm in the same camp. I think Corlys got captured. I think they would have probably made it a little bit clearer if they actually straight up killed him. And this is aside from I've seen leaks floating around from like set photos filming that I don't know if someone got him with a drone or whatever of Corlys in a scene we haven't seen yet. So presumably he's still around. But yeah, it's an interesting development. And I feel like the jury, jury's just out like till we see what they do with it, on whether it was a good change or not from the source material.
And it does make you think, because we do get the capture of Corlys after he already told Alan, like, hey, I'm tired of having to give stuff to Rhaenyra. I'm tired of her asking more of my house. But at the end, he did change his mind. He was like, hey, now we go back to King's Landing before his capture. So maybe there's a little give and take right there.
Yeah, totally. And we also did see him earlier in the episode give Alan an interesting piece of information that I didn't expect, which was, so he caught these Triarchy pirates. He's been killing them. He finds out that Tyland Lannister is still alive. Jefferson Hall, who we saw link back up with Aegon and Larys Strong at Rook's Rest last episode. So now Corlys knows that. He told Alan that. I don't think we saw Alan tell Rhaenyra that in this episode, so we don't know if he told her off screen, if she knows or not, if that's going to come up next episode. But Alan knows that Tyland was heading for Rook's Rest, presumably because he survived with these pirates. The pirates were his allies in that battle. How do you think that is going to affect? So Aegon, Larys, and Tyland are still at Rook's Rest, burying that guy Janos in their one, kind of, it was both humorous and a little bittersweet because of Aegon asking Tyland, do you think I was a bad person? And he just waffles it. It's obvious he did. And they want to go to Essos, but Rhaenyra knows Tyland's there now. What do you see happening with that?
I can see that they don't know where they're going to go, where Aegon is going to go, and I can see that influencing them, maybe putting more of an emphasis on the Riverlands and the Westerlands of where Aegon's clearly going to go back to Castle Rock. That's the biggest stronghold that's kind of still on his side besides down in Old Town. Why wouldn't he go to somewhere that can maybe withstand some dragon fire? That makes all the sense in the world to everyone, except Laris has some other plan and is to go to
Yeah.
Bravos. And so that might be their only saving grace is they're not thinking of the plan that they're thinking of at the end of the day.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's my theory, which
Ooh.
partially just occurred to me as I'm sitting here thinking about this and listening to you talk about this. So in terms of Rhaenyra with Thailand, presumably the reason this is important for her to know is she doesn't know Aegon's there. She doesn't know Larys is there, but she wants Tywin Lannister because he hid the gold from the
Mm.
treasury. So presumably that's going to make him a priority for her next episode when she finds out that Thailand is there, even when all this stuff is happening in Tumbleton and elsewhere. I would bet she's going to send at least a dragon rider or something to go get Thailand, or maybe House Mooten soldiers who, like, that's another house. It's like they haven't been mentioned once. They retake Rook's Rest in Fire and Blood. I don't know if we'll see an actual like retaking of Rook's Rest. Sunfire is relevant for that too. It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
We could though. I do think Rhaenyra is going to send someone for Thailand, and she might even get him because Thailand spends a lot of time as her prisoner in the book. They may course correct and get him into the dungeons, which would be pretty bad for Thailand. But if that happens, I think Aegon and Larys, you know, it, this might be too much spoilers. I think Sunfire will wake back up. Obviously, we've talked about this before. There's no way Sunfire stays dead in this show. And maybe they follow Sunfire to Dragonstone at the end of the season or something. But
Yeah.
yeah,
I can definitely see that being the episode. Like you said, that's a good point. Hey, she needs to find where the money is. King's Landing is falling apart all around her. Everyone wants money. Everybody wants something, and some gold can alleviate some of those issues. So, and that was a good call for House Mooten. I can definitely see that being a reason to get them near Sunfire. And if
yeah,
Sunfire does come back, uh, they can burn some Mootens. I think they're the leaping fish.
bird some Mootens. Is it? Yeah, I don't know off the top of my head, honestly. It's been a while since I looked at the heraldry for House Mooten.
You don't have them all memorized? What?
I don't, and I don't have my World of Ice and Fire here to peruse either. But yeah, I feel like that is so. If any of that plays out, which like a lot of it might not. Like this is just us spitballing. But I've been kind of turning this over in my head. Like, why does she care where Tywin Lannister is? Oh, it's because he's the only person she knows who knew where the gold went. So he could tell her. I feel like House of the Dragon a little bit is fucking with people who read the book in terms of making it seem like they're changing things in massive ways. You know, Tywin Lannister's dead at the Battle of the Gullet. For people who just watch the show, that doesn't really matter that much. For people who've read the book, like Tywin Lannister has a lot to do through the end of the Dance of the Dragons and after it. So killing him, like, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Mark, I'm pretty sure it's like his lineage is one of the ones that contributes to the Lannisters we see later in Westeros.
I don't think so.
No. Okay.
Mm-mm.
So I'm talking out my ass.
Yeah, his twin brother Jason does have kids all the way over there in
Gotcha.
Castle Rock. So they're
Okay.
there. The line is still strong. It's going to continue through him.
The line is still strong, but Tyland plays a major role. He's one of the regents. He plays a major role in essentially the fallout from the dance. So doing it this way, they make us think Tyland's dead. They send book readers into a frenzy with pitchforks and torches, and then they're like, surprise, Tyland's still alive. Now it's Tyland is nowhere near his book story, which is that he's Rhaenyra's prisoner. What are they going to do with him? And now we find out Rhaenyra may be looking to go get him. So it's like, it's all these ways of them, like, you know, maybe people jumped the gun. They misled a little bit. Do you think that's intentional? You think they're intentionally messing with the book readers?
Yeah, that's what you have to do. Because you know, you get some book readers, and it's like, oh, I know it's going to happen, so I feel superior, and then it's like,
Yep.
oh wait, that's not happening, and now they're thrown off. They're confused. They're like, this is wrong. This show shouldn't exist. But like, it's fun for them to mess with us. Like, I like it when they kind of subvert it. But then like, it still happens, but you didn't know we delayed it happening. Kind of. I'm like,
Yeah.
you got me again.
Totally.
that's
That's what I
that's
felt
what was
about
so.
Otto too. When they were like,
Yeah,
Otto's been in the dungeon this whole time. We're gonna execute him in King's Landing. I was like, oh, they made it seem like Otto was captured in the Reach or something. Nope. Like, still getting his more or less his book death.
yeah. He got the same ending, so it all worked
Yeah.
out. I guess not really worked out for
Except for
him.
Otto. Yeah. Yeah. So, do you have anything else you want to say about Aegon and Laris while we're in Rook's Rest? How'd you feel about seeing them briefly in this episode?
I thought it was good. Like you said earlier, that was a good conversation they had where he just asked Tylan, "What do you think about me as a character?" And he did kind of just dance around the subject. Didn't really want to touch it. Like, everyone's kind of good and bad. It's like, no. You can't just come out and tell the truth. And that's why I would have went with Laris too. Now, why is Laris so loyal to Aegon? I'm not sure at this point in the story, but I'm gonna trust the guy that's willing to tell me how it is.
Yeah, I mean, Laris, I think Aegon's just a good opportunity for Laris. Laris, he's an opportunist. He'll be able to leverage Aegon somewhere at some point. And Laris's own luck is on the outs because he was, Aegon's Master of Whispers. House Strong is pretty much gone now after Aemond went to Harrenhal. Aemond murdered basically the rest of Laris's family that was left. So presumably, whenever he comes back, he can't expect a warm welcome from Aemond, who Aemond was already like telling him like you're, not worthy of being on this small council,
Yeah.
essentially. Like he wouldn't have any real reason to expect any, comfort from the blacks, except that he gave them Otto. So he's laying those seeds for, hey, maybe I'll need to defect. So I feel like he's kind of got his, he's doing contingencies. He just wants to survive.
Some people just love playing the game, and I think
Yeah.
Larry's one of those people. Like, this is fun to him. This is part of
Yeah.
the puzzle.
Yeah. And he's not quite a little finger who just wants to watch it all burn down. Like he seems like he's got some sense of self-preservation in there too.
Hmm.
So someone who doesn't have a great sense of self-preservation, Rhaena Targaryen. So let's hop over to the Vale for a minute. We briefly touch base with Rhaena, the rider of the Wild Dragon Sheep Stealer, who apparently at some point off screen left her little hidey hole because she saw Bela, her sister, flying around on Moondancer. She said, let me go try to flag her down, I guess, with my big, large dragon. Even though I told Daemon to tell Rhaenyra I'm dead, like,
Yeah,
and then Jane Eyre's pissed about this and brings her into court and reams her out and threatens to toss her out the moon door, essentially. Did you miss Rhaena almost seeing Bela on screen? Did you find it jarring that they just were like, this happened off screen, and it's kind of
it was.
significant enough that Jane Eyre is pulling her into court?
Yeah, that was a weird choice just because, like, I know Sheep Stealer is a larger dragon, but by the time you get saddled up and out there flying, I think the other dragons would see you.
Yeah.
Like, they couldn't have been that far away, and they would notice. There's not a whole bunch of airplanes in the sky. It's the only things up there that big are dragons. They're going to see that miles away.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
presumably the other dragon would notice, kind of
uh,
like Caraxes noticed that Sheep Stealer was close and then just kind of took off. Like you would think if Moondancer was flying around the Vale and suddenly Sheep Stealer was in the air, especially since Sheep Stealer tried to like chomp Moondancer at the gullet, you
yeah.
would think they would notice.
And Moondancer would know Rhaena. She would know how Rhaena smelled, and that probably get them to go over there. I think that's the thing about Caraxes. It's like, hey, it recognized, hey, this is your daughter somewhere over here. We need to go here through that
Yeah.
dragon bond.
Yeah, I mean, is this almost to me, it felt like a cutscene more than, there have been times where House of the Dragon has skimmed stuff. I think especially this season, like the fish feed happens off screen. It didn't feel like, oh, they wanted to film the fish feed and didn't. Like, it felt like, oh, they made a choice to skip the fish
Mm.
feed, and this is what they're doing instead. This, to me, felt like they had wanted to have a previous scene with Reyna and Bela, and then either production or maybe they changed their mind. This is speculation, but that's kind of how it felt to me. And then they need this other scene because we need Reyna to be on the outs with Jane Eyre. It feels a little like treading water. That it's just
Yeah.
like Jane Eyre's like, told you to stay in your cave.
You're not supposed to know what cave I'm in, Jane Eyre.
I thought about that too. I'm glad you said that. Like, she just said go in the wilderness, it's big, and now she's like, you have a cave, I told you to stay there. And it's like, when did that happen?
Just something to hide. I was hiding most of the time.
Yeah.
Didn't like how Jane Eyre snapped at Rihanna. Did not enjoy that. Like, calm down. Still a princess of the realm. Is she on the possible outs with some members of her family? Yes, but you still need to, remember your place a little
Yeah.
bit.
That's kind of a theme of this episode with a few of these characters who are in the orbits of these different rulers. So like with Ormond too, Gwaine is like, why do you let him talk to you like this? Why are you letting him do this? Like, he wants to make you king. That means you're king, or at the very least a prince. Like, put your foot down. And Darren just, he's too intimidated to do that. Reyna, like Jane Eyre, the Reyna situation's it's obviously more difficult because Reyna believes Rhaenyra will kill her. She believes these, whether they're true or not, which, like, I don't think that's true at all. I'm sure if Rhaena came back and said, I'm sorry for what happened to Jace, like, you can hate me if you want, but also here's this dragon who could help you in the war. Like, I don't see Rhaenyra executing Rhaena if
Yeah,
she
I feel
came
like
back.
it gets worse the longer she stays away. Like, you can't pop back up now because it's like, well, I was sending people after you. I was wasting resources searching for sheep stealer,
Yeah.
essentially, and it's a quote unquote writer on Team Green side, and like you just wasted all our time.
Yeah. Yeah, so this scene, as much as I did like seeing the Eerie again, I love Jane Eyre. I feel
Yeah,
like Jane Eyre's one of those characters who she's been in the show a little bit and she's kind of taken on a life of her own on the internet. The amount of times I've seen like Reddit posts of people talking about Jane Eyre's, her costumes because they look so great. And
yeah,
Amanda Collin, who plays her, is just an incredible actress. But yeah, this scene, it didn't make a ton of sense to me. So glad to see more Reyna, glad to see more Jane Eyre, but they need to tie things together a little more tightly, I think, for the Vale in the next
yeah.
two.
That almost felt like a reshoot. Like, let's reconfigure this real quick, and
It did.
uh,
Yeah, that's totally how it felt to me too. Um another this episode, I feel like, did you like this one as much as episode 5 and 4?
I liked 5 and 4 more.
Same.
I thought those were better episodes. I feel like this one kind of like in the middle. It started dragging a little bit. Then at the end, like, okay, I'm back in. But in
Yeah.
those episodes, the whole way through, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is happening. This is happening. This is happening. This one didn't have that as much.
Yeah, I feel like the big thing for me with a lot of these in terms of how much I'm liking them have been like, are there glaring plot holes? Like this stuff with Reyna that we were just talking about, where like
Mm.
I'm watching, I'm like, what's going on here? Like, what are we doing? You know? And this episode had a few of those sorts of things where I was like, did you guys really have a plan for this, or did you just think this would be cool and then you had to immediately backpedal? Another one of those that I find really humorous that happened, the big fake out of this episode, Alicent and Helena. We saw them get trapped in the tunnels last episode. I feel like a lot of people were probably like, now we're going to see them stuck in the tunnels. What will they find? They literally just sat there. They get found in their very first scene of this episode. They didn't make it anywhere. What do you think about that choice?
I feel like everyone knows about the tunnels now. That's kind of odd and weird.
Yeah.
Who isn't in the tunnels? Like, oh, they escaped. It must be in the tunnels. It's like,
Yeah.
okay. I thought it was supposed to be so secret. Only House Targaryen really knew about them. Not too many people knew about the tunnels.
Yeah, totally. I mean, Rhaenyra knows about them.
Yeah.
Whether she's super familiar with them or not. Daemon would too.
Yeah.
But I don't know, it's it's not really clear who sent those soldiers in there, because Rhaenyra later in the episode with Alicent is like, soldiers found you. And it's like, well, did you send soldiers? Like, did you send those soldiers? You look for them in the tunnel, Rhaenyra? Like, that's your choice.
Well,
So yeah, that I definitely was like, all right, I was disappointed that they didn't do more with them being in the tunnels.
yeah, we could have got at least a quarter of the episode, maybe a couple of scenes of them in the darkness. We only hear their voices. Uh,
Yeah, yeah, they're stumbling, trying to find their way. Like, do they get lost? Do they find interesting things like Balerian's skull is down there? There's all sorts of interesting things in those tunnels. But yeah, no, nothing.
mm,
Um, so after that, Helena is kind of fraying at the seams a little bit. She's in
mm.
captivity. They're being separated. Helena and Allison can't be in the same room anymore. The visits with Jaehaera are not happening anymore because, as Rhaenyra puts it, my soldiers found you. I can't let this stand. If it were up to me, Rhaenyra, I wouldn't be this mean to you, Allison. But because other people saw it, I have to be. Rhaenyra has this absolutely, I thought, idiotic plan. And like, I don't know who to be madder at here for this, Rhaenyra or the writers for doing this, because I just think this is the stupidest thing. Rhaenyra decides the only way she can trust Alicent again is by sending Alicent to go assassinate Aemond at Harrenhal. Alicent, who has never like killed a person in her life.
how how hard was it for Rhaenyra to chop off Otto's head, and now you're asking her to not only kill someone, even if he wasn't her favorite person in the world, that's still her son. You
Yeah.
you want to ride up to this giant castle, find him by himself, assassinate him somehow, and then ride out without suffering any repercussions at Harrenhal for the possibility that you may let them go at some time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of there are kind of two sides to this. One is that the plan itself is just the dumbest thing. There's no reason to think that Alicent Hightower would be able to murder Aemond, even if he was like asleep in front of her. Like, does she know the right place to stab a person to kill? Like, presumably she could cut his throat or whatever, but like in a pinch, like, and she had to stick him in the body, would she be able to do it? Like, we haven't
Mhm.
had anything in the show to suggest she would. The only thing was when Alicent tried to stab Rhaenyra in the 7th episode of season 1, that really great scene at Driftmark. But like, that was not Alicent trying to literally murder a person. That was like her at her most furious, just flailing, like, lashing out essentially. It's totally different.
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
was just say that wasn't a coordinated attack, so it makes you feel like is there some plan with the guard she's being sent with? Are they coming with her? Because she did have a couple people around her with horses, so
Yeah.
I'm assuming they're all, because you can't just send her out there by herself. All going to Harrenhal on the secret mission that is doomed to fail.
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's a good point. She could be coordinating it with the guards. Still think this is ridiculous. And also it's a ridiculous thing to expect of Alicent, that she would go out and assassinate her son to save her daughter. Like, they've been really, this show has made such a thing out of Alicent wanting or not wanting to betray her kids. Like, it has become the central defining thing of her character this season, kind of starting at the end of season 2 to now, is which kids is Alicent willing to betray? Like, we find out here, this was another thing that kind of happened off screen, unless I missed it last episode. Helena wanted Jaehaera to come with them when they tried to escape.
Yeah.
Apparently Alicent said Jaehaera got held up and then they just went. And Helena here is like, was that a lie? And it turns out it was a lie. Like, Jaehaera was never going to come with them. But like, that's another thing I don't think was in last episode. Did I just miss it? I know they talked about Jaehaera, but I don't remember when they went to escape it being like Jaehaera didn't make it.
I think it was assumed that we were supposed to assume that Helena was told that they were going to get Jaehaera, because she already made it clear to Allison, I'm not
Yeah.
leaving without my daughter. So it's
Yeah,
assumed
yeah.
once we leave the room, we must be going to somehow get Jaehaera, or Jaehaera's going to be brought to us. And since they were caught by Masaria, okay, that didn't happen, and they try to go to secret tunnel. Maybe
Yeah.
Alice is like, oh yeah, we're for sure gonna find Jaehaera. She's gonna we go to her room right now. It's like, no,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. So Allison, it's crazy to me that Allison is now being sent out of King's Landing to Harrenhal on this mission to assassinate Aemond. And I will put on my annoying book reader cap here for a second, because aside from just how this feels so weird for Allison, that there's just the show has this fixation on whether she'll betray which of her kids or not. Allison being Rhaenyra's prisoner is like one of the dynamics I've personally been waiting for in this show. Like, that is a thing from the book. Like, Rhaenyra takes King's Landing, Allison's her prisoner, and it's awful for Allison. And like,
Mhm.
there's talk about what Rhaenyra does or doesn't make her do. A lot of it's probably not true, but still, like, this is like they've wanted to get these two leads back on screen together. Obviously, that's why they did the secret meetings in season 2. They've literally said this was because they didn't want to leave those two separated for an entire season. Now you have like the actual reason for them to be together. And it is the juiciest dynamic of their entire arc together as characters once the war starts. And we're going to boot out Allison out to Harrenhal on like a ridiculous assassination plot. Like, it blows my mind that that's the choice they made.
Yeah, that's a great point. Like that was the whole point of everything. You wanted them having these conversations together, and it's been such great having Rhaenyra talking with
Totally.
Allison. It's like, you're my prisoner, but I'm taking your advice, and to the point where I have to treat you worse now. Like, that's been interesting seeing how they're playing off each other. How Rhaenyra's getting just a little bit more cold, kind of how Allison
Yeah,
told her she would need to be, and how she's becoming. And now they
totally.
kind of threw it to the wind. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, okay.
Yeah, totally. I liked the colder Rhaenyra in that scene. Like, I want more of that. So yeah, it
Mhm.
definitely baffles me a little bit. And I can, the travel times are going to be, they have to go out the window here. I thought about this with Sabbath of Frey too. That Sabbath of Frey is in King's Landing. She presumably left after Rhaenyra put the bounty out on Harrenhal, which was in episode 3. So she somehow started at the Twins and beat the Winter Wolves to King's Landing, even though like it's an army, but they're still like way farther south
Yeah.
than than the Twins. And they said in this episode they're still weeks away from Tumbleton and King's Landing, so 2 weeks ish. So yeah, the travel times are just kind of gone. Presumably, Allison's going to get to Harrenhal like next episode, so that's
I
just another instance of, if unless the Winter Wolves also hit Tumbleton next episode,
uh,
the travel times are just out the window.
yeah, I think we're gonna have a little quote unquote time jump to get Allison up there and get the Winter Wolves probably closer to Tumbleton.
Yeah, you're probably right. Um, so while all this is happening, Aemond, sweet innocent Aemond, who has not done a thing wrong to anyone since the premiere where he kissed his mom, which was real gross. Since then, he's been hanging out at Harrenhal. He killed some dudes last episode, but they wanted to kill him, so we'll call that a
Yeah.
wash. He's spending time with Alice Rivers this episode. This is kind of like the relationship building episode for Alice and Aemond, where they kind of level with
Mm.
each other a little bit more. Alice reveals she has a clutch of dragon eggs from Dreamfire. Who that's for viewers, show only viewers who maybe haven't looked at wikis or anything. That's Helena's dragon.
Mm.
You could be forgiven for not knowing that, because I don't think Dreamfire and Helena have literally shared a scene in this show, but that is Helena's dragon, who was previously the dragon of Rhaena Targaryen, who is Aegon the Conqueror's granddaughter, was Dreamfire's first rider. And at one point she went into like self-imposed isolation at Harrenhal. And now we're finding out Dreamfire laid some eggs there. How do you feel about all of this stuff? And then they kiss because Aemon loves a good dragon egg. He's like, this is, you know what? Maybe that does it for me.
Yeah,
Um,
this is
what'd you
hot.
think?
Dragon eggs in a lady.
Yeah. Here's our first dragon kiss we haven't talked about.
um, I think that was it was definitely a it was interesting to see, like, okay, we have dragon lay eggs here at Harrenhal. In my mind, it opened the question up, like, oh, can there be dragon eggs at a lot of different places that there were dragons, especially up at Winterfell whenever we get the Winds of Winter.
Yeah.
So now we know dragon eggs can survive a long time and can be brought back even when they turn into stone, which happens in Game of Thrones at the end of the book.
Yeah.
But definitely, like who hid them? Like
Yeah.
how did Alice Rivers know where they were? And it seems like they weren't open for a long time. So more
Yeah.
questions, we get more questions. But it's interesting of what her plan is. Since she does seem like she's teaming up with Aemon, Aemon's teaming up with her. Like, what's the plan for these dragon eggs? Is it to bring forth a whole bunch of new dragon riders between those two?
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I assume we won't really see anything happen with these eggs aside from them end up somewhere.
Hmm.
Because, I don't anticipate Aemon, even if they hatch tomorrow, it would be years before they would matter for the story the Dance of the Dragons is telling. So like it would really be an at the end of the show there are some more dragons in the mix type thing. But I believe the running theory, and I don't know that this has been hard confirmed by the lore or anything like this, that Dreamfire is the dragon who laid the eggs that are Daenerys's dragon eggs from Game of Thrones. So it was kind of strongly alluded to that Rhaenyra was sending some eggs off that would end up being Dany's dragon eggs last
Yeah.
season. But now it seems like this is yet another instance of like, are they fucking with the book readers? They kind of hinted that with last season. Now it's like, here is Dreamfire's clutch of eggs. These are so cold they're stone, which is basically what Danny's were. And then some blood gets on them, and Aemon's like, hey, they're still warm. Do you think these three of these, because I think there were 5 in the
Yeah.
box, do you think 3 of these are Danny's?
I think it's kind of like what you said. They're kind of just trying to throw us off because they did have, I want to say, 4 eggs get sent.
Yes.
Yeah, get sent with the younger 2 kids, Aegon and Viserys, over to
Yeah.
Essos. So, and I think those are probably Daenerys, at least for show wise. Those are
Yeah.
going to be Daenerys' eggs because it matches up. The colors are the same.
Yeah.
Those eggs are going to get turned into stone. So we already have kind of an emphasis to now for seeing what happens to dragon eggs when they sit for a long time.
That's a good point. Yeah, totally. And we presumably one of these eggs, either from Dreamfire's clutch, from Aegon and Viserys's clutch, one of them needs to end up at the Vale. I still am holding on to hope that we will get Morning, which is Rhaena's dragon from the book, who comes at the very end of the dance. I have my tinfoil hat theory is that Morning the dragon will still pop up at the end of the show.
I like that. Who doesn't want to see a little pink dragon?
Right. Give the realm some hope.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then all that aside, there's also the romantic aspect of this. This is Aemon kisses Alice Rivers. Alice Rivers kisses Aemon. Do you think this one feels earned? This is a relationship a lot of readers have been waiting for. What did you think?
You know what? When I was watching, I was like, this is kind of happening. But it she brought us some good points. Like, I didn't kill you, and I could have
Yeah.
killed you and claimed the reward.
He loves that.
I'm willing not to kill you in your sleep, and sometimes that's loyal enough for me. Like, hey,
Yeah.
my life is safe in your hands.
Yeah, I feel like, they've put in enough legwork that this didn't feel totally out of left field. It felt just the right amount of dysfunctional for these characters because neither of them have it all together. It shouldn't be like, Jon Snow and Ygritte. Like it should feel like this feels a little weird, a little wrong, a little like things could go bad at any moment, but also like it doesn't feel random. We have another dragon kiss this episode that I thought felt real random, even though I know why they did it, because this is an instance where they're really shoehorning in a thing the readers will expect. Um, Actually, let's jump to that. Unless you have more you want to say about Alice and Aemond.
No, we could jump to that
Okay.
one.
So that one is Alan of Hull and Bela. So after Alan of Hull gets back from tracking Corlys, Bela's real tired too. And she's like, "Don't you want to just forget stuff, uncle?" She doesn't say uncle because the show doesn't want to remind us he's her uncle. But then they just make out and presumably hook up or who knows what. Um, they've shared one scene in the show so far, which was in
Yeah.
episode 2. This felt so random. Like, again, they're doing this because, spoiler warning, these two characters eventually end up together after the whole Dance of the Dragons is done. Um, did this work for you? It felt so like just kind of forced to me,
It
even though I
felt
like the
for
actors a lot.
Yeah, no, they're great. It felt forced, and I think this is where those 2 episodes being at the beginning of this season and not in season 2 where they're supposed to be, it feels like
Mm,
really close to. Then your fiance, who you've been raised with most of your life, just died, and
yeah,
now the same season you found the new love, which is great. You know, you got to move on with your life somehow. That your boyfriend died, but it's like, wow. I mean, he died in a crazy way, and you had to bring his body back. Are you ready for another relationship right now? And maybe she doesn't see it as a relationship, just a comforting hand of a fellow Valerian.
yeah. I mean, we're talking about like less than a month since the
Yeah.
Battle of the Gullet. Like, it's presumably been a couple weeks. Because Rhaenyra, it's hard to tell exactly how much time, but it seems like she has not been ruling for a month yet. Um,
Mm,
and yeah, I think that's a good point. That if we had seen them first come into contact at the end of last season,
mm,
before that fall of King's Landing, all that stuff happens, this wouldn't feel quite so random, but they just haven't given them any time for development. And like, I do like that they want to have Alan of Hull and Bela be a more natural romantic relationship, because in the book it's like a marriage of convenience. Like, the regents who are controlling the realm after the dance are trying to marry Bela off to a bunch of
mm,
people she doesn't like. So she essentially goes to Alan of Hull and they do like a shotgun wedding. So
mm,
it's to get her out of the situation. But that's kind of similar to what Game of Thrones did with Rob Stark and Talissa. Is it Talissa? Not
yeah.
Talissa.
No, I
Yeah,
think
right?
it's Lisa. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's one of
yeah.
those variations.
Yeah. What they did with Rob Stark's romance in Game of Thrones, like, that was in the book, he slept with someone. It's a matter of honor. That person can't have a marriage the same way. He needs to marry them.
Mm.
And the show was like, modern viewers would probably connect more as an actual romance. I feel like they're trying to do something similar with Alan and Bela, but like, they just need to put in the legwork.
Yeah. There's a few more scenes we probably needed, a few more glances of them looking at each other before we got there, and that might be one of those casualties of the shortened season and condensing those episodes into this one.
Yeah, totally. Um, so another casualty that happens this episode, Daemon hits the streets. He hits the streets and he really wants to find who killed his gold cloaks last episode. He also wants to scorch Tumbleton to the ground because Ormond is there. He's now proven he's dangerous to Rhaenyra in King's Landing. Alan of Hull talks Rhaenyra down, but Rhaenyra still wants Daemon to go get his revenge and get his satisfaction. So she encourages him to figure out who's killing the gold cloaks in the city.
Hmm.
Um, and then he throws on a little disguise and he goes out and does it. Um, how'd you feel about that whole sequence of events where he ends up cornering this high tower soldier who's one of the ones that Allison asked to stand down from the walls in episode 2,
Hmm.
has been orchestrating the killings?
Uh, I mean, I think it is that was a good scene of him
Yeah,
just showing how he's still the Prince of Flea Bottom. He can still get his hands dirty. He can get
totally.
things done and solve issues, like, and to hear that from that spy, that Team Green spy, like, hey, there's a lot of people here clamoring for Daemon to come, clamoring for a man to be on the Iron Throne, essentially. they're the ones that are going to bring stability more than you can think, and that I think that's going to help add to the paranoia for Rhaenyra. Like, what do you mean there are more people here trying to
Yeah.
throw me off, kick me out, trying to kill me in my bloodline? Like, what do you mean? Like, that's not going to help. But Daemon did a good job with that. Daemon probably didn't do a good job of what he
Mm.
does next. But what do you think of the handling with the spy?
I liked it a lot. I think that
Mm.
anytime Damon gets to show his edgier side, the show is usually better for it. So I like that it was a conversation. It wasn't really clear where it was going to go. And here's someone really like getting in Damon's face. Then he just kills him at the end. You know, he's just like heard what he had to say. That's enough.
Yeah.
You know, so I liked the way it's all handled. I think you're
Mm.
totally right that he very much botched what comes next, which is he on his way back, he bumps into Ulf. And there's a previous scene with Ulf we're going to talk about next that sets this up. But yeah, he bumps into Ulf, who's in disguise as well, because he just wants to go to the bar after Rhaenyra barred him from it because she's worried about him getting assassinated. He just wants his simple pleasures. This is a scene in this moment that made me laugh out loud so hard when he because I just didn't see it coming. This big dramatic scene happens. Daemon kills the dude, and then he bumps into freaking Ulf, who's just like, yeah. Why do you think he messed this up?
Because he slapped the dog piss out of Ulf in front of everyone, all the small folk, the people that you are supposed to be ruling over. If you're willing to slap a dragon rider, what are you willing to do to all of us? Like, that's not going to garner the support from the people around you right now. And then
Yeah,
Team Black needs support of the city. Um,
totally.
and that's, I mean, Ulf, and I know you were talking about it earlier. Ulf already having conversations about Hugh, about how it doesn't feel like we're winning. It doesn't feel like we gained anything. So we have
Yeah,
a dragon, but what is it? What has that really done for my life? Like, I had to
yeah.
watch a whole bunch of people die for me to get this dragon, and now I just burn things and sit places.
Yeah, I was so glad to get some time with the Dragon Seeds this episode, or at least Ulf and Hugh. I feel like they're such interesting characters. I think season 2 did a great job of making them all more like three-dimensional, Ulf, Hugh, and Adam. So like I was so glad that we finally get some good scenes with them because they're important characters. They're gonna do important stuff probably this season, definitely this season. And you know, I don't want it to be like Alan of Holland Bela. Like, please set it up. Take the time you need to set up whatever's going to happen with Ulf and Hugh. Um, and yeah, the Daemon thing, like he did botch it on so many levels because, yeah, you're right. He's smacking around a dragon rider who's like the small folk dragon rider who like Hugh might not be boasting, but you know, Ulf like the people Ulf hangs out with in that tavern spread the word that their buddy Ulf is now a dragon rider. Like he's
Yeah.
probably the most recognizable dragon seed in King's Landing for like the
Mhm.
small folk. You know, he's one of them in a very uh you know, maybe more visible way than Hugh was. And then so Daemon does this. He's dressed as a gold cloak when he does it.
Uh,
So people either recognize him as Daemon or they didn't, and they just see a gold cloak smacking around Ulf. And like, there's also the question of is someone going to find that body that this gold cloak just left in an alley right next to this dramatic scene that's unfolding? So yeah,
mm.
it was interesting to see. You know, Rhaenyra has been making a lot of mistakes. Daemon less so. Daemon's been saying a lot of stuff, and people have been ignoring it to their detriment. But here, I feel like Daemon made a pretty big mistake.
Yeah, this is going to be a clear one. As it's going to bite them in the rear end.
Yeah, and like before, not very long. I think if it's not episode 7, it's definitely episode 8. We'll see. You know the all the stuff in Tumbleton. You know the stuff that's been foreshadowed with the dragon seeds. We'll see all that come to a head this season. I think. Um.
Yeah,
So.
I was just about to say, and this might be random. I know beginning of the season we're talking about maybe multiple fights in Tumbleton. I think we
mm,
might be down to one. At this
You
point,
think so?
I mean,
Man.
it's episode seven and 8, and I think it's just going to be a fight in Tumbleton versus probably more than one. So still good, and
Yeah.
it'll be a crazy possible opener for season 4 if we do get more fights here.
Yeah, I think that's the possibilities are they merge Tumbleton. So again, people who haven't read Fire and Blood who are listening to this, I assume most of you who've made it this deep probably have read it, but just a little context. There's a first battle of Tumbleton where stuff goes sideways pretty badly for the blacks. There's a second battle of Tumbleton where stuff goes sideways for pretty much everybody involved. It's probably like the big most dramatic battle like sequences in the entire war. So it makes sense that House of the Dragon really wants to highlight Tumbleton as a thing. Um, but yeah, the question of are they merging Tumbleton, because there are a lot of other things that still need to happen after this in season 4. I feel like something pretty big gets lost if you make it just one battle of Tumbleton, because part of what makes it so effective in the book is that the first battle happens, there's some really intense betrayals, and then the second battle happens, and whoever survived the first battle of Tumbleton is now in the line of fire. So if everybody just dies in one battle of Tumbleton, I don't know if it's going to work as well, you know?
Yeah. And I think we'll still get more than one. Just probably not until season 4, which is a
Yeah.
long ways away.
Yeah, I kind of feel like the first one will end on the note of the people
Mhm.
who betrayed, controlling Tumbleton by the end of the season. And then maybe in episode 1 or 2 of
Mm.
season 4, they'll do the second battle of Tumbleton and wrap that all up so that we can focus on other things like, the battle above the God's Eye and stuff in King's Landing that has to happen, which is pretty big, which is they can't avoid it. They're already setting it up. So yeah, we'll see what happens. Tumbleton's got to be in the next episode or two, at least first Tumbleton. Um, so in line with that, we also got some pretty strong foreshadowing for some stuff with Hugh this episode, which
Mm.
is kind of our one of our last things really to talk about from this episode is Hugh, the dragon seeds. Great that they're getting extra focus. Vermithor and Silverwing still take the cake for the best dragon kiss of the episode for me. Love them. Someone give them a vacation. Hugh has a scene that surprised me this episode where he goes in disguise into Tumbleton. Everybody's in disguise everywhere in this series. Like, it's so easy to slip into places in disguise, is what I am gathering from House of the Dragon. He
Yeah.
finds his wife, Kat, and then she's really upset and doesn't go with him. What do you think of all of this?
She was 100% right. I mean, they lost their daughter. You ran off to try to claim a dragon, saying that's going to make our lives better. And, like, what did you want her to do? Did you want her to stay there and hopefully you came back? She probably heard about all these dragon riders meeting their end, dying trying to claim a dragon with these dragon seeds. And why would she just assume like, oh, of course you would be one of the people who claimed the dragon? Like, no, she
Yeah,
had to protect herself and go back to the only other family that she had left. And I can only imagine how hard it was to make that journey, especially like she said, for a woman alone to make it from
yeah.
King's Landing to Tumbleton during wartime. Like, she had to do what she had to do to get back to family.
Yeah, totally. And I think Allura Torchia, I believe is her name, who plays Kat, had one of the standout scenes that I did not see coming this episode when she says
Mm.
all this to Hugh. And this idea that Hugh did claim a dragon. He did the thing. And not only that, he has like the most impressive dragon alive aside from Vagar.
Mm.
And but to do that, he essentially turned his back on his family like when she needed him the most. And like Ulf said, like how much has Hugh's life improved? So even though he's like the queen will provide for us, like what does that mean? Like Kat lives in the castle with him, she works as a maid or something. Like, Hugh doesn't have a household, like he doesn't
Yeah.
have a bunch of gold, like he's just essentially living as an army soldier under
Hmm.
Rhaenyra's care, albeit a privileged one. So yeah, I mean, I think Kat really had the right of it in calling him on this. And then he gets upset and he tries to force her to come with him because he can't stay. I was glad that he was like, I can't stay here. Because I was like, it's crazy how people just are sneaking everywhere. He tries to force her and she's like, I don't even recognize you. Like, who are you? And then she leaves.
Oh,
Um, how do you see this? All right, putting on the spoiler cap here for a second. We're deep into this episode of the pod. We're deep into this season. If you are a show only watcher, I bid you adieu. If you don't want spoilers, stop listening right now. But there's a big spoiler question I want to ask you, Mark, and I
mm.
don't want to wait because by next episode it might not be relevant. How do you think this stuff with Kat is going to play into Hugh's betrayal?
And I can see it playing out multiple ways. One, if they're able to find out who she is, if by some miracle they, I don't know, recognize Hugh or whatnot, like who's this random silver haired man in here, but also him wanting to get back with his wife, and maybe this is the only way, but defect into the Greens, like I want to be in there with you, like I don't want to go back to King's Landing. At
Yeah.
the end of the day, like why would I go? I'm not going back to anything. My life, hey, I say the same thing. My life is my wife. Where she goes, I'm gonna go too. And I can see him having that same thoughts. Like there's nothing for me there. Rhaenyra hasn't provided anything for you to even come back with me for. Like I'm gonna be here with you. You're my heart. You're my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so the setup for Tumbleton is really different because the Greens already control it. So
Mm.
in the book, the Blacks control Tumbleton, and then when the betrayal happens, the Dragon Riders who betrayed burn the city that the Blacks are in, and then the Greens take it over. So I don't. The big question that I have is, will Tumbleton still get burned? I feel like it has to. Like, I would be really surprised if it's just they betrayed, they burned the armies on the field, maybe, and like Tumbleton escapes unscathed. The
Uh-huh.
thing that I keep being a little bit afraid of with Hugh is that he is going to get pushed over the edge and burn Tumbleton in an almost Daenerys sort of way, where it's like
Mm.
he thought he was doing all these things that were going to work out for his life and for his wife. They didn't. And now, does he resent Rhaenyra? Does he resent Kat? Like, where does that negative feeling go for this dude who like has been pretty self-restrained so far, but has this big intense dragon? Like, does he take it out on the city? Does he take it out on the Greens? Does he take it out on the Blacks? Like, I feel like they could go a lot of different ways with Hugh and however his betrayal will work out, because ultimately, and they may totally change this, but if he ends up setting up shop in Tumbleton and thinking, I should be king, screw the Greens and the Blacks, um I feel like they've got a lot of room to figure out how they want to pull that off, and maybe he betrays everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, if there is a big battle, and Sabbath Frey already set it up at the beginning of this episode, talking about how when dragons fight, you don't know where that fire is going to go.
Yeah,
A lot of people see what Vermithor can do, and shout out to them sneaking in that nickname for Daemon the Daring this episode. But
yeah,
yeah, finally got it, even though he didn't earn it.
yeah. Thank
Anyway.
you. I was like, that's nice that they said it, but like, did he get knighted with the name? We didn't. I don't think so.
No, definitely not. But it is going to be interesting just to see, like, people see how strong his dragon is. He has the same amount of dragon rider blood as Daemon does. Why shouldn't he be king?
Yeah, he has the biggest dragon
Mm-hmm.
aside from Vagar.
So
Um,
and Aemon's crazy, so nobody wants Aemon on the
yeah,
Iron Throne. So
no, yeah. Nobody really wants Aemon. It's true. Even though
forgotten
he was
brother.
the most competent of the people who has ruled since King Viserys, I think Aemon somehow did the best job.
Yeah, he didn't care enough about the small folk, just the right amount, but
Yeah,
enough to get things done. So I'm like, all right, sure thing.
yeah, yeah. I mean, there was suffering in King's Landing, but he wasn't. I don't know. He still kept things together. He wasn't getting the sort of unrest that Rhaenyra is already setting up for herself with like Gold Cloak brutality. That's another thing we didn't talk about just briefly. A bunch of Gold Cloaks quit this episode.
Yeah.
So yeah, things are looking pretty bad for Team Black. Things are not looking great for Hugh. Mysari is keeping secrets from Rhaenyra that she knew about Alicent. And yeah, we'll see how it all plays out. Do you have any final thoughts for this episode? We've gone way longer than usual because
Yeah.
this was just packed this episode.
I do feel like we need 10 episodes. I'm like,
Me
there's
too,
little more
man.
story in here. And I know you're gonna tell me 8 episodes is more than enough, but I'm like, this is you needed 10, and we're already getting 6 because you had to fill some other stuff in. I'm like, there's a lot of material here. I feel like you're leaving on the cutting room floor, and there's nothing we can do about it. Decision from way high above Ryan Condal's head. So it is what it is.
Yeah, I hard agree with that. And I wish that barring 10 episodes, we could get a 5th season and plan around that. And that may be Ryan Condal's decision. But yeah, I think if there's anything House of the Dragon is proving, it's that for a show like this, with this sort of scale and ambition in like the Game of Thrones universe, it really does need the 10 episodes. Like we lose something when it doesn't get them. We need these slow burn relationships really being set up with lots of good character building that shows us who everyone is. We don't need, even though people on the internet will gripe if there's not a huge battle every episode, like we don't need a huge battle every episode. We need more like episode 5 that really establish the stakes and move different characters along. So yeah, that's a pretty fair thing to come back around to here at the end. We really needed the 10 episodes.
Yeah, well, I know we won't get it, but maybe if we all watch it enough, maybe they'll
Yeah.
change their minds for season 4.
Yeah, that would have a nice, symmetrical feel to it. 10 episodes season 1, 8 episodes 2, 3, 10 episodes season 4. From
Fingers.
our lips to HBO's ears. But yeah, so this has been Take the Black. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you stuck around all the way to the end, this was an extra long episode, so we appreciate extra that you stuck around. I'm Daniel Roman, editor of winteriscoming.net, where we're writing about this stuff, House of the Dragon, fantasy, sci-fi, basically every single day. So if you found us through the podcast, like go check out the site because there are probably lots of articles you would enjoy. And Mark, where can the people find you on the internet?
Yes, go over to TikTok, look up House of Nettles, House_Nettles. Forgot my name for a second. You see this face, you're in the right place. And also I'm on Instagram and YouTube as well.
Excellent. And yeah, like, subscribe, find us on your podcast platform of choice. And we'll be back next week to break down the penultimate episode of House of the Dragon season 3, right after the episode airs. So till then, we'll see you in Westeros.